Hello and welcome to another episode of Hopelessly Casual, the Hocage, as the kids call it. Well, nobody calls it that, but I'm calling it. It's established now.
Yes, of course.
It's law. We're hosts as always. I'm Christian, and with me as always is Freya. Say hi, Freya.
Hello. This is a fairly normal intro. I'm not really used to that. This is nothing that left field happened.
Well, I mean, outside of me sometimes yelling, and then the all-time classic of Hopelessly Catholic,
which we still will establish at some point. Yeah. Guys, there will be merch at some point.
There'll be merch at some point. Which, by the way, while we're talking about this, I'm a bit surprised we're not rolling in cash right now, because a few weeks ago we printed stickers.
I know.
And we spread them all over the city, different parts of the country, and for whatever reason our subscribers haven't gone through the roof. Can you imagine?
I know, it's still like 5 people.
It's well, but I think we've got a perfect score still of 5 stars, because like I think we've got 14 reviews at this point. But let's just say, don't rely on my business models, like sticker-based economy isn't what it's propped up to be. I'm reading the wrong literature.
I don't know. I think we just gotta stick to it, and when we plaster the entire city with stickers, we'll be grand.
We'll stick to it. Well done. There we are. And I'm the one wearing headphones. I'm deaf now. It was nice knowing all of you.
That's fine. This will probably add to the whole podcast if you don't have to listen to all my rambling all the time.
There we go. Right. So today, what are we talking about? We're basically talking about crushes, aren't we?
Yes.
So we're not going to dox anyone here. This is mostly going to be either, I suppose, fictional characters.
Yes, exclusively for me, to be honest.
Exclusively
not
for you.
Not even actors. It's really about the characters.
I think for me it's the same. Sometimes I suppose you'd superimpose certain characteristics of the characters onto the actors, maybe themselves. You want them to be like that.
Yeah, if you don't know the person, you tend... I mean, I think it's normal that you mix fiction and reality. And if you met, I don't know, Tom Cruise, because I just read an article, you will think of Mission Impossible and not expect Tom Cruise to be a person of his own.
Yes.
How dare he?
I to be perfectly honest, after everything you hear, and like him planning this plane stunt for over 10 years, I don't believe he's all that different from Ethan Hunt.
Probably
or,
not.
Ethan Hunt is basically
To be honest, if
Tom
you play
Cruise.
a role for that long, I think there is some overlap. Eventually, there will be some overlap.
Yeah, we should probably talk to the main cast of the Marvel movies. They've been doing it for nigh on 20 years now. I think they can say one or two things about this.
If I remember correctly, during Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan had a real go at Robert Downey Jr. Because he, about halfway through the shoot or early on or something like that, he went up to him and he's like, okay, this is not Marvel. You're not Iron Man. You're not playing yourself. This isn't going to fly here. Could you please do your job and act? And it's a great performance. Don't get me wrong. It worked, but
I think he even got an Academy Award for that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That was a hilarious Oscar acceptance speech where he said something about his abusive father getting him into the job, if I remember correctly.
This is always the perfect spot to air out grievances, like, hello, everybody, this is a wonderful night, let me talk about my abusive family.
But none of this is justified information. This is a dangerous half-knowledge from, I think, last year's Academy Awards, and that's what we are hopelessly casual.
Exactly. It's the name of the game.
Is happening.
It's the name of the game. Don't worry. We're knowledgeable enough to not come at you pretending the world is flat or anything, but, So far.
If I see compelling evidence, I'm joking.
Now, once we get, famous and, wind up in certain circles, we're going to come up with the weirdest of shits.
For sure.
That's for absolutely.
Just to test, like, social experiments. What can we spread?
Yeah, let's
I mean, rumors, not STDs. Sure.
Both. Let's not both.
Okay, so crushes.
Yes. Why don't you start us off? I'm super excited for what you've got, and you've got a lot more than I do.
Surprise. Okay.
I have 3 off the top of my head. How many have you got?
12, maybe.
Oh, there you go. You were way more active in your imagination than I was, or I was way more monogamous, I suppose.
I was as well. This is very much mostly. I would say, I would group this maybe in like 3 or 4 phases of my life. Also heavily dependent on age. So like I feel like there's a certain theme that's going on there. I don't want to say I have a type, but maybe I have a type. But yeah, I mean, I could easily fill this episode on my own. You will need to shut me up at some point, I reckon, because I guess once I get to talking.
I'm calling this a free afternoon,
yeah.
so if you hear me leave at some
No,
point,
you don't understand. You're giving me a space to air out what has been building up since I was like 12.
Excellent.
So, okay.
Here we go.
I want to say, because I ranked them, because of course I did. I'm not gonna go into this willy-nilly. This is a subject dear to my heart.
I can tell. I feel like I'm hopelessly underprepared. I'm being very, let's say, casual about this.
I want to say I want to start with my 12th place, and then we work our way up there, and you maybe spread your crushes.
I sprinkle mine in.
Yes, like some well-placed seasoning in a dish.
Excellent.
Okay, so the first crush that I ever had, no, that's not true. The first crush I was aware of, I ever had, and I was aware I was crushing on the character because my top 3
I'm so fucking
have
excited
been
right
with
now.
me for a while, but I think I wasn't even realizing I was crushing on them or obsessing over them because it was when I was way younger. But the first one I was really aware of was a character from the show Navy CIS.
Oh my god, we need to get my mother in here because she watches all that shit. Go for it.
I used to. It was Anthony DiNozzo, who was in the original, so NCIS, the one that is set in Washington, D.C., not one of the spin-offs in L.A., or I think there's also Hawaii by now or
something. Do you happen to know the actor's name?
Yeah, Michael Weatherly.
Michael Weatherly.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever been in anything else.
But Navy CIS, if I may just ask, is that also the one that sported, what's his name, Chris O'Donnell?
Yes, as Ducky, I believe. I believe he was the coroner. The very, very wise, old, nice mentor figure who was always a bit calm. And Mark Harmon is one of the lead characters by the name of Gibbs, who is the team leader and sort of like the stoic, like, captain at the helm steering the little team of investigators through all the crime scenes and terrorist attacks and everything that's going on there.
Okay, I now have a picture of Michael Weatherly.
And Tony is the Joker of the group. Sort of the he is the second in command in a way, Gibbs being the first one, and then Tony being the one who's second longest on the team. He is incredibly whimsical, never takes anything seriously unless shit gets really real. And everything he does involves a movie reference, never books, he doesn't read. Everything he always he draws a reference to a film, a TV show, anything like that, and he will just throw pop culture references like that out willy-nilly left, right, and center. And all of that is, of course, just to mask how incredibly emotionally vulnerable he actually is and how much he actually cares about his friends and how deep of a character he actually is. But he can, of course, never show that. So he is always hiding that behind silly jokes and being a low-key obnoxious person, always bullying his other male co-worker by the name of Timothy McGee. And he has 2 love interests in the show for the time that I was watching it, because I think it's still on, actually. But I think most of the cast has rotated out by now. I think it's just Mark Harmon desperately trying not to let it die by now, because I think he's also the producer or something like that. Again, I'm not sure. I stopped watching over 10 years ago. But it was my first show that I was genuinely obsessed with. That was a real-life TV show. It used to be on German television on Sundays.
Fair enough.
At prime time. And my mom used to watch it religiously.
Yes.
And I, at about the age of, I want to say 11 or 12, joined her.
Okay.
And I absolutely obsessed over Tony, because he completely got me with the whole comic relief, and yet always when he got serious, he got real intense. And I was always, of course, rooting for him and his love interest, but of course the whole point of the show was that they would never actually get together, because then that plot line would be dead.
It's a classic will they, won't they?
Yes.
Fair
and
enough.
Milk that. Oh my god. The first one he has that going on with is actually dying. Like Kate dies in the second or third season of the show, I believe, of which there is by now over 20 seasons or something. And then the new female character is called Ziva, who is is Israeli agent from the Mossad sent to co-work at the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, which is what Navy CIS stands for. I believe it's a real branch, actually, of investigation services
it might be.
In the US. I think so. But yeah, that was the first one. I wrote so much fan fiction.
Jesus Christ.
I will admit.
I never wrote fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I need to ask now, since we're talking about the guy. Right, so we've got him into his proper context, but what exactly about him was it?
He was just so charming, but at the same time, it was the fix-it thing, you know. I can fix him. He is just emotionally unavailable, but not because he's a bad person, but because he's been hurt, and I can heal that. And I'm fairly sure that's maybe a trope that we might come across more often. The depth to a character being hidden by unhealthy coping mechanisms is just something that gets me for some reason. So much so that NCIS, I think, was the second long piece of fan fiction, as in prose, that I actually finished. I think it was a crossover that I wrote with another show we'll come across later. And I wrote it when I was like 13, 14, and it's about 250 pages, I believe.
Jesus Christ. Did you share it anywhere? Was it online, or did you write it just for yourself?
It may still be online.
Oh, so you actually put it up somewhere. Yeah. Did you get feedback for it at all?
Yeah, but it was in German at that point still. And I put it up on an international website. People involved in fandoms will have 3 guesses as to where. It's the one starting with an A. So the feedback that I got was not extensive, because it's just, since it was in German, it didn't have that big of an audience. But the people that did did like it. So
was it very involved with Anthony, actually? So
yes.
Was he the main acting character?
Everyone was part of it. Everyone, if that is the main cast in NCIS, is featured. But yes, it is very Tony heavy.
And would you say that a lot of people actually agree on you crushing him? Is he like a main crush in the show, or are you a bit more fringe with that?
No. He is definitely the heartthrob. He is written as such and intended as such. And I full on fell for the cheap tropes that the TV writers back in 2003 or whenever it started airing aimed for, and they completely got me.
And I just looked up the actors, so I might have to look up a picture from the show itself, because, I don't
think he aged that well. Not to be rude or anything, but
let me have a look where he's in NCIS. It's loading.
Yeah, maybe check out something from the first 10 seasons.
Well, I can see something here from around 2004.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I get it, because it's not that he's an ugly man now, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's just like he aged to a point where he's very unthreatening.
Yeah.
And he's a guy you can just put in a show like that.
Exactly.
But I'm now looking through a bit of his filmography, and, The Mystery of Natalie Wood. This is a good-looking man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
See, he looks a bit Chris Pine-ish, around the time when Chris Pine... Jesus Christ,
a bit of a boyish charm, but without seeming young. Like boyish charm in your mid-30s, sort of.
But, the glasses he's wearing in The Mystery of Natalie Wood, they're certainly not helping. He
doesn't really have a face for glasses.
But he still looks good in it. But the thing is, they give him serial killer vibes. I never watched the film, show, whatever. So I don't know if he is a serial killer. But Jesus Christ, you see a picture of him now, fine-looking man for his age, absolutely. But you see him around 2003 when you first encountered him.
And now,
Jesus.
Let me tell you about my favorite episode of NCIS, because of course that is the episode where we get to know how he is in a fragile way for the first time when he really lets down his guard, which is early on in season 2. It's called, I think in German it's Todeskuss, so kiss of death, and I think it's something like that, called that in English. The setup of the show is that they have this tiny team, right, of like Gibbs, at that point Kate, Maggie, and Tony, that are the active investigators, and they're in like a huge office building, but they don't have a cubicle for themselves, but like all the different investigation teams are like in this huge room, and they just have like their little separate spaces, but it's not different separate rooms, it's one huge room. And there's just the mailman coming through and like delivering like mail to all the different people, investigators, agents, yada yada yada. And Tony, there's one addressed not to Tony, I believe, but to one of the team, and Tony just nicks it, opens it, and for some reason he blows over it as he like pinches the edges together so it folds open in a way, like the envelope folds open, and there's a powder coming out.
I think I've seen that. Not the whole episode, but I might have looked over my mum's shoulder while she was watching it.
Yeah.
Because this is very iconic, because this was the time where we all were afraid of powder in envelopes.
Yeah, exactly. And so what it was, because immediately there's a biohazard alarm, and
Obviously.
Everything's shut down, quarantine, and rightfully so, because turns out it was was it the bubonic plague? No, which one is the one that affects your lungs? It's just the plague, I guess.
Well, is that still around? Because you know, Jesus, can you just imagine, honey? I'm not coming home. I've got the bubonic, or any fucking plague for that matter.
I think I don't want to get this wrong. I think the bubonic plague is the one where you get like the whole like abscess stuff on your skin that's filled with like fluid and shit. And there's 3 kinds of the plague. And the black plague, the black death that we used to call it, that is usually the one that affects your lungs. And I, for the life of me, can't think of the scientific word right now, but everyone knows what I mean. That's the thing that you think of when you think of the plague, which, by the way, still every year breaks out in Antananarivo, in Madagascar, the capital of Madagascar.
For fuck's sake, never say you're not learning anything here. Because, like, I imagined that sort of it still exists in some form or another in a laboratory or something. No. But the thing is, you know,
just treat it with antibiotics these days. It's kind of like, as long as you catch it, it's not that big a deal, because it's just you treat it by antibiotics.
Yeah, but you know, like you go to the doctors and say like, yeah, I'm not feeling
bit of
too
a cough,
well.
really.
Yeah,
plague.
You've got the bubonic plague. I've got what now? And then you know, like they put over this plague doctor's mask and everything is like, oh my god, are you going to cut me open? Nah, just take some of the antibiotics.
Yeah.
And you
it's
call,
really just that.
Just call in anyway. Call into work.
Sorry, can't come in today. Got the plague again. I know. The rats, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, like, you got ye old plague. Just, or, you know, like, you call your partner, no, honey, I'm not coming home. I've got the plague. You know, we're on quarantine. Just tell me you're cheating on me.
And do you know, like, most of my knowledge about this comes from this episode, because I've seen it so many times. I even know the Latin name of it still, which is Yersinia pestis, just because it's quoted in there.
There we are. Now we're educational.
But yeah, so the idea is that Tony blows open this envelope and this powder comes out and he breathes it in, and obviously the whole team gets tested, and him and Kate are the 2 people that were in direct contact with the envelope, so they are being quarantined for like further testing. And they are being put in this, I mean, obviously after COVID, this whole became a whole different connotation when we talk about it now. But I mean, in 2002, we didn't really associate that much with it. So they were a bit whimsical about the whole thing. So it's like this huge plastic see-through rooms, or like plexiglass, something like that. Just like a cubicle with like beds in it. Can see through the entire thing from the outside. There's no privacy whatsoever. It's just like this see-through cube in the middle of a room,
It's a sex tent.
But it's a cube. It's a cube.
It's a sex cube.
Yes, precisely.
Same thing.
With like, I think 6 beds in there and just Tony and Kate in there. And like doctors monitoring them throughout, like from the outside the entire time because they're being further tested, like with blood samples and everything. And then the whole thing is that Tony actually tests positive. He got infected. But Kate didn't. But Kate pretends like she did and lies to him about it so that she can stay in there with him because she's so worried he might die.
Okay, but wouldn't the scientists around them not know that she's not infected?
No, they would, but they would cover for her till they're like, okay, but it's getting too dangerous now, you gotta get out of there.
Well, fair enough, but at the same time, like, is this now the type of plague you can't throw an antibiotic on?
It was, they fix it super quickly, but they first need to figure out how to fix it because, of course, the person who did it tampered a little bit with the bacteria, so they need to find a way how to adapt the existing antibiotics first.
Of course, some bullshit
Because
in order to stretch out your 45 minutes.
Exactly, you need to cover 45 minutes. And that episode is, for me, my favorite one because Tony is in mortal danger and he's fucking terrified. And of course, he's playing it off as if nothing was actually up for the longest time. But then we let it progress to a point where he's like lying there and coughing up blood and everything, and Kate is just there like crying in everyone's arms, just like he's dying, oh no. And then of course it's pretty quickly resolved in the last 5 minutes of the episode because you need to build the climax, and then it's resolved in the last 5 minutes before the final ad break.
I mean, it must be so obnoxious if you're a medical professional. You're sitting there like, Jesus Christ. Just give the man some antibiotic. Yeah, but it's been tampered with. We don't have just one kind of antibiotic. Just throw all of it at him. His gut flora will recover.
Yeah.
His gut biome, whatever you call it.
Exactly. And of course, Kate and Tony never kiss. At least not there. I think they kiss like once, maybe, tops. But that's the first time where it's like really revealed that they're like caring for each other, and like it's the first episode where like Tony's whole trickstery joker serious not at all serious 12-year-old boy, his heart drops for the sake of like the seriousness of the situation, and that really drove home the point where I was like, okay, that man, I will take that man, this is mine now.
Excellent.
I will obsess over this one.
The problem is I'm starting to find this very interesting, but we've got 11 more to go on your
part
part alone.
Well.
And if we don't want this to be a 4-hour episode or a season in and of itself.
I warned you.
You did warn me.
Okay.
So let's move on with number 11.
Yes, so number 11 jumps a bit in age as well, and this may be a very controversial one.
Oh boy.
Not controversial, and at the same time not at all controversial. I want to stress I was like 15 here, just to lead with. It is Keeley from the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh my god.
Exactly.
Which one was that? Was that the guy who was with
the elf?
Yeah,
the completely made up storyline with the completely made up elven character Toriel, who doesn't exist anywhere and was just added for the sake of interracial romance.
Those weren't good movies.
No, but I love them because of him and maybe another character we'll get into later.
Oh,
and
Jesus
no, it's not
Christ.
Smaug. Calm down.
Dragon sex.
But Keeley, you know what? And the problem is, I think everything I said about Tony is probably just applicable to most people on this list. So, I mean, Keeley is sort of the same.
So we sort of already established your archetype, so to speak. And so we can, of course, assume a bit. But what is it? I mean, this was one of those almost shaven dwarves, wasn't he?
Yes, exactly, the brunette one. The nephew of the main character of Thorin.
Yeah.
One and the younger one. He has 2 nephews, Philly and Keeley. Philly is the blonde one who doesn't have that much screen time, and Keeley is the brunette one.
He dies at the end.
Yeah, they all die.
No, they don't all die.
The entire line of Durin.
Oh, yes.
Thorin, Keeley, Philly all die.
Yes. I thought you were speaking of all the dwarves. I'm like, no,
well, most of them die.
well, you know.
But yeah, no, just the main three actors, the main three dwarves, they die.
But Jesus Christ, you know, like when he dies and Toriel is bawling her eyes out, and then comes what's his fucking face, King of the Wood Elves.
Yes. Jesus Christ, I know this. Give me a second. Thranduil,
yes, and there's because it was real. Oh fuck me sideways! I almost puked my way out of that cinema.
I will say that my obsession with and there was a phase where I was obsessing over. Maybe I was actually 17 because I think peak of my obsession with The Hobbit was when I was in Singapore on a school exchange, and that was when I was 17, so around then. Is the second film. I actually think The Desolation of Smaug is a entertaining film. I was gonna say great film, that's a lie, but it's an entertaining film.
I think a lot of its value comes from the interaction of the dragon with Bilbo.
Yeah,
because they always have great chemistry.
There's a lot of payoff in the second one, arguably. I feel like the first one, An Unexpected Journey, sets up a lot of expectations and a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of tension that the first film doesn't release. First of all, with never showing Smaug. Just the silhouette, just a wing, just the tail, but never seeing the actual dragon. And you can say about the CGI of the orcs what you want, but the dragon looks fantastic.
The dragon
Smaug
looks fantastic,
so good, and I think a lot of character development that is also being set up in the first film gets sort of delved into more in the second one, and we start to get a more three-dimensional idea of at least Thorin and Kili, because again, Kili very obviously is intended as the heartthrob.
But how? This is something, you know, like where the whole point of because it was real really drove me up the walls, because none of this is real.
No, but I don't care. I never cared about the romance. I was always more intrigued by the fact that Kili is somehow burdened with this whole thing of like, my uncle needs to reclaim his throne and I'm in the line of Durin and my brother's gonna be next in line and we gotta reclaim our home and we gotta live up to this for our mother, for our ancestors, for everyone who died. And trying, like, this burden being so incredibly huge that it's not really bearable, but hiding all of that again and being like the happy-go-lucky character on the outside with all of that like pushed down and sort of like...
Well, maybe I was hating too much on the films because that never sort of translated to me, because, you know, like I was so pissed off by those films because I read The Hobbit like 7 or 8 times. It's a great book to take on a journey because it's literally about that.
Unexpected, what's that? Sorry.
Yeah. But then at the same time, some of the designs of the dwarves, while imaginative, it was so undwarfish, especially Kili. Yes, he was, you know,
I think Aidan Turner's a really pretty man. That also helps.
This I also I also didn't get because, you know, like the hair wasn't doing him any favors. The rugged, you know,
it's
like
his face though.
5 o'clock shadow.
His eyes and like his facial features.
And maybe I never gave him a chance because outside of the design, you know, this whole thing, like now we have forced Romans in there,
get that.
Which is super important apparently, and with a character that shouldn't be in here. And this is all topped off by that arsehole saying, because it was real. Fuck off. Because, you know,
the Battle of the Five Armies is visually interesting at some points, but some wrapping up of the plot lines is, let's say, it feels like not a lot of thought went into the script for that film.
No, fair enough. But, you know, like I heard recently from somebody that there exists very interesting fan fiction exploring the sort of... implied, I suppose, romance between Bilbo and Thorin.
I may have read all of that.
You have to speak up a bit because you're dropping out.
No, I actually, yes. The shipping of Bag and Shield, as the term would be in the fandom.
I'm pulling the plug on this right now. I'm not doing this. I think this would have been an interesting relationship. If this name wouldn't have come up, because I'm thinking like, yeah, I can see that. I
absolutely can see it. Also, I'm 100% convinced that both of the actors deliberately played it subtext-wise that way. Martin Freeman at least confirmed it.
And I like the idea because, you know, like Bilbo, Bilbo. For the rest of his life, he's a bachelor.
Yeah, he is.
And, and he's a very loving person. There's no doubt about that. You can see that in his relationship with Frodo.
Yeah.
But I'm pulling the plug on this right now because Baggins Shield, fuck off. No, we're not doing that. Okay, so we've got Keeley. Move on, number 10.
Okay, moving on. Let me quickly pull up the list.
And while we're at it, I apologize for some of the audio dropping out. We're still we've got a new setup going on. We've got a threshold and everything. It's not entirely ideal. We're trying to keep all of the breathing as much as we can out. But if we go too low sometimes, like the voices will drop out, not too much. But we're figuring it out as we go a bit. We did a bit of trial recordings. But at the moment, it's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. You'll still hear some creaking of the chairs because these are wooden chairs on hardwood floors.
Yeah, it's the ideal setup to record with.
But if you go back to very first, let's say 5 episodes or something like that, this is a lot better. I think it got progressively better, and we're now trying to not necessarily perfect it, but get somewhere to a quality where I can say I can live with that for the time being.
Yeah. Of course, we want it to be the best experience for you guys that we can grant you. So we are always on the path progressing towards that.
Yeah, exactly. So number 10, go.
Number 10 is now moving into a different genre altogether, and I believe you won't be surprised because you know me. But we will now enter realms where I don't think you can relate or contribute to as much.
As long as I don't run out.
We are moving into anime territory now.
Whoop, whoop.
Starting off with a character from Attack on Titan.
Oh, I've watched, I think, the first 2 episodes because everybody was watching it.
So you won't know him. Levi Ackerman. So Levi is what really helps is he's voiced by one of my favorite Japanese voice actors. So that's definitely a huge part of it because said voice actor voices a lot of characters in different anime that I can potentially crush on just because of the voice. Whoever is a little familiar with.
I've looked up the character and why is it everything I expected it to be?
Because you know me.
He's got his hair parted in the middle. Of course, it's darkish brown, blackish. He's got a constant resting "I'm so over it" face.
Yep.
And as he's what basically the kids these days probably call a sigma male. He's a loner, but everybody wants to be with him.
And he is such a badass. He is
exactly. And at the same time, he's
overpowered. He can he takes titans left, right, and center on his own. He is captain of I'm not gonna get into the lore of Attack on Titan too much now, but he has a high military rank. He is a very seasoned fighter. He has ancestry that plays a huge role in the storyline, and he gets introduced as the bitchy, maybe not mentor figure because he's not old enough to be the mentor figure, but he gets introduced in what I would consider maybe the third act of the story. So we start off with the main character Eren and his friends Mikasa and Armin as kids. And then they continuously mature throughout the time the story progresses till they're young adults. And Levi gets introduced when they have themselves already experienced their own trauma and contact with the Titans, lost people, a lot of destruction happened. They are basically refugees moving further into the city away from the dangerous Titans. And they join the military themselves to take their home back, is a very, very, very brief summary. And Levi then becomes their commander because they get assigned or try to get into his troops because he's leader of the scouts that actually get to leave the walled city and go out into the wild and actively fight Titans instead of try to only defend the city, but actively go out and face the threat.
Does he die at some point?
No.
Shame.
Levi doesn't die. Levi gets incredibly badly hurt at the end of the penultimate season.
Mm-hmm.
And you think he might die because Attack on Titan does kill off characters. But then he just comes back super hurt and then he recovers and then, of course, he's part of the final push.
Does he have a love interest?
He doesn't.
Oh.
Not really.
So he's more of what would you call it?
He is the broody character. He is also, we get flashbacks of his so that we can really relate to his emotional damage, like his traumatizing childhood, all the hardships that he faced and that turned him into the ice-cold, stone-faced man that he is now. So that we as the viewer know more, and we're like, but I know how you really feel. You don't have to put up that.
Isn't it a great thing that there was something entirely original written here, because we've never seen a character like this before. And I just a few days ago watched the original Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
And you watch this, and he's kicking ass left, right, and center. Like he's doing Tai Chi in the garden with his with his shirt off, and then his love interest comes. It's like, I heard you studied before you became a bouncer. What did you study? Poetry. And I was literally sitting there, because of course you did, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, but you win your fight. Nobody wins in a fight. I'm like, fuck me sideways. If that film hadn't been so fucking entertaining. And I believe this probably goes for Attack on Titan, because like I've seen the designs, I've seen some episodes.
Visually, it's one of the best animes that came out in the last 20 years, I'd argue. It looks beautiful.
Okay, fair enough. But the thing is, I had a point here. No, I don't have a point here. I'm just I feel like I look at the character, I look at a picture of his, like with this, or I look at two pictures. I look at one where he's just, his broody self with his I'm so over this look on his face. And the next one is you see him fighting, so you know everything you need to know about him. He's the broody guy, everybody.
But he is the broody, but yet attached guy. But he never would actively show that he's attached to someone or loves his friends or is like cares about people unless they are in danger. And then, of course, he turns into like berserker mode and like fights for the people that he loves, but he would never, ever, ever, ever admit that he does care about people. And he has to like face his abusive mentor figure at some point, and then like basically fight off the root of his own emotional trauma, and like all that kind of bullshit is happening. And it's entertaining. I said I have a type. Leave me alone. Right. You asked for this.
Okay, let me sprinkle one of mine.
Yes. How about? I was gonna say we're a third in now. Let's go.
I think I'm going to start, I'm going to do it chronologically, overall speaking, because my very first crush, I remember that, and that was still while we were using VHSs, was The Little Mermaid, the 1989 version of Ariel. Like I don't know what it was. You
don't know what it was? With a beautiful half-naked singing lady?
I was 3, excuse you. There wasn't like I wasn't sitting there putting in the tape and thinking like, alrighty, let's do some.
Let's go.
Let's do some fish hybrid stuff. Let's not. But the thing is, I don't know. It certainly played into a type I developed, I suppose, later, or always sort of had, because redhead, big plus, works for me. Also, well, I don't know, good singing voice, obviously Jodie Benson, well done there. Like, I don't know, maybe it was the hips, the waistline.
Fair enough, yeah. No, I remember I watched the cartoon a lot as well, so I have a very clear image of her in my mind still.
And to be perfectly honest, after everything you said, and you've got such insight into your characters and into why you have got crushes on them, and I can't really say I can do the same.
My insights are just self-diagnosing myself, really.
Well, that's perfectly fine. But it's more than what I did. I was just thinking at that age, like, oh, pretty lady,
Hello.
Because I think at this point, in my life, I'm 36 now. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to have a crush on her, because I think she's like what, 15, 17, something like this.
Yeah, maybe even younger, to be honest.
But at the same time, at the end of the film, she's getting
rebellious teenage phase.
No, fair enough. But at the end of the film, she's also getting married.
That's true, but then also, when is it set? 16 something, no?
Yeah, exactly. And basically everywhere was Kentucky at that point.
New world implied, I believe, something like that.
I don't know what it was, but the thing is, I remember this so vividly, and I think I was over it by the time the TV show came out, the animated TV show. I watched
quite a lot.
But overall speaking, The Little Mermaid is a great film, because you've got the sea witch Ursula, which is such a fun character, and imposing and threatening.
Yeah.
And then I I mean, come on, you know,
The
like
songs are great.
the songs are fucking
Poor Unfortunate
fantastic.
Souls is one of my favorite
Poor
villain
Unfortunate
songs.
Souls. It's the one good part about the remake with Melissa McCarthy doing Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Oh my god, you guys! Him and I, we tried to watch it a few months back, and how far did we make it? I think about halfway in.
Yeah, I'd say.
And then we were like, we can't. We didn't even expect. We didn't expect to like it. We were just watching it for a trash watch. And even with that premise, we were like, because we were thinking about doing an episode about that remake.
Yeah.
And then we were like, we cannot. We can't. And Melissa McCarthy was probably the best thing about that whole movie.
She was. But
I love her, but everything else,
no doubt.
God.
And I mean, like, well, you know, let's not make this about this, you know, like, because the episode's going to be a lot longer then. But the thing is, yeah, my first crush was Ariel, and I don't know, like, if I were to look at it now, you know, thinking, okay, there's a lot that speaks for her. She's interested in things, but also at the same time, you know, like, she's a classic for the time, for the Disney Renaissance kind of character of, you know, like, the female character that knows a certain life and wants to know more, which is a commendable quality to have. But at the same time, I don't believe, for me, it went that deep. I was simple. I think I found her pretty. The fact that she, you know, like,
she was funny, she was nice.
She was nice, you know, like, she was half fish, you know.
Yeah, of course. But if that, hey, I'm not king shaming here. That's fine.
No, but, you know, I remember, you know, like, so yeah. Then by the end of it, when King Triton turns her into a human himself, you know, like, she's got that killing dress on, you know, which looks amazing. But overall speaking,
Eric is so bland. I just realized thinking about it. Eric really doesn't matter that much. It's just
wow. Like seriously, Eric is just there, and he's eye candy because he's not doing all that much. Yeah, towards the climax.
Anything.
Towards the climax, he helps, you know, like, kill the sea witch. But for the most part, he's just like, you know, yeah, I met this girl. Now I'm madly in love. Now I'm trying to find her, and that's it. He's not unlikable.
No, he's just.
But he's very
bland.
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
You know, like, you could. I don't know.
You know what? Hot take.
Yeah.
But I think with a little bit of tweaking, not too much tweaking, you could air the entire film, you could rewrite the entire film without showing him once and just have him be a name. Just be the motivation for her, and that's it. I don't think we need, like, technically you could get away with giving him 0 screen time.
Probably could, but, you know, like, I'm not supposed to think about this too much because, you know, like, somebody recently destroyed Raiders of the Lost Ark for me because they said, like, if Indiana Jones never intervened, the Nazi, none of this would have ever happened. And I'm like, no. And then you rewatch the movie, it's like, oh fuck.
No, just turn it off. You know, the movie ends when you turn off the TV.
No, but, you know, it's Indiana Jones. At least the first trilogy, it's a lot of fun. But okay, this is my very what would you call it? My very shallow first love on a fictional and also animated character. Go on then.
Okay, so my next one we kind of touched upon already a bit is Thorin. And.
Oh, this is sick because you're already, you know, like, you're keeping it in the family. Jesus, you're just going down the hallway 2 bedrooms down. It's just like, I had your nephew, now I want you.
No. Okay, no, because initially when I watched the films for the first film for the first time, I really liked Kili. And Kili has the moment in the second film where he gets shot in the leg with a poisoned arrow, and then he's pretending to be all strong for the longest time till he can't anymore, and then I love that trope. Okay, Thorin really got me more towards the second half of the second film and the third, because I really thought what is very clear about his character trait is his fight trying to be a good guy. Basically, he's an addict, right? But he's really trying not to be. And it's just his whole moral dilemma over, I love my family and friends and my non-denominational boyfriend. but at the same time, the gold sickness has its claws inside of me and turns me into this person I don't want to be.
May I just intercept you for a second? Because you guys don't know Freya the way that I know her, but everything is so in character. It's incredible. Not the whole quasi incestual thingy that's going on there. It's just like sweet home, lonely mountain. But all of this, like, oh, he cares for his family, but at the same time, an addiction has got him in his grip. And I'm like, yeah, this is making sense. I'm about to put on a fake beard, some glasses, and like get myself a notepad, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Dr. Freud over here.
No need. I'm self-diagnosed. I've been self-diagnosing me for the longest time. I'm fully aware of all of this.
Excellent. Then please go on.
But like, I think. This might also be a very controversial take, and I'm not at all claiming that I am able to look at this objectively speaking, hence my last 2 minutes of rambling. But I quite enjoyed Richard Armitage's performance as Thorin in the third film, because I think he manages to get this internal fight across very well through his just physical acting, through his facial expressions, just through the general air that he conjures up around him, just the aura that he gives the character, I think works. I mean, of course, the point is driven home incredibly bluntly as well by the film, with like this whole situation where he's like standing in the former, what is it? It's like not the throne room, but like the entrance hall, where like at the end of the second film they had melted. All the gold is liquid.
Is that incredibly stupid scene where that melting
they try to
statue...
drown the dragon in the liquid gold?
Yeah, in the liquid gold. But first there's a statue, and it stands for a second, and then my god,
with horrible CGI, because that's probably the worst CGI in the entire film, and they like make that statue collapse onto itself in a but liquid-esque. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's melting, but inside.
I'm hating this so much.
But then in the third film, Thorin is standing on top of this now cooled gold, which is covering the entire entrance hall. Like, it just has a gold floor, which bougie. And he suddenly... And Smaug is dead by this point, because Smaug gets killed very early on of the third film, which I always thought was weird pacing. Why didn't they just kill him in the second one and then have the third one just be the battle of the 5 armies? But it doesn't matter. And he's hallucinating that Smaug is still swimming underneath him, and then like the floor opens up and the gold swallows him. And I mean, it's very hard to miss the point that he is trying to fight being like turned into a similar monster his grandfather was. But I like how Richard Armitage sort of gives it his own flavor, because it feels like the actor cared for the role. It felt like the actor cared for or had a mission during these films to lend more depth to the character he was portraying than actually possible, considering that the source material is like, what, not even 100 pages long?
No, the source material is a bit longer than that. But at the same time, of course, it's it's written in a structure that's more akin to a fairy tale.
Yeah.
So you've got like, I believe 12 dwarves or something, or 14. I'm sorry.
I can still name all of them, but yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And the thing is, if you have a book like that, you're not going to go into too much character. We know Bomber is fat.
Yeah.
That's what we know. We know Thorin's the leader, and he's dying towards the end. And if you read the book, for example, Bilbo meets after the Battle of the 5 Armies. He's not seeing how Thorin's getting mortally wounded.
Any of it. He just gets knocked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gets to the tent where Thorin's dying, which is a very nice scene in the book. Yeah. The book overall is fantastic. But, of course, you need to lend, like greater, let's say, emotional depth to a character when you put it on the screen.
That's why I think Richard Armitage as the actor giving Thorin Oakenshield life is really, like, the way he did it just really got me. And I think what he did just really resonated with me, because I cannot watch the character portrayal in a shallow way. Whenever I see him, knowing his full story, knowing all the flashbacks, seeing the subtle changes in how he then, when they are in the mountain and like the gold sickness takes hold of him more and more and more, how he then turns towards the people that he loves, especially Bilbo, like the harsh change in behavior and everything. I think Martin Freeman and Richard Armitage had fantastic chemistry on screen. And so Thorin is also really a character that I really like because he just is three-dimensional, I guess, and feels like a real person that just needs help and needs to be understood.
Well, outside of that, I don't believe I've seen many other performances by Richard Armitage that got very popular, not, like speaking about quality or anything. But I remember two others. He spoke the Belmont character in the Castlevania show.
Love how he did that.
Love the show
He has
in its
a fantastic
entirety.
Voice
Fantastic.
as well. Oh.
Then there was also, I remember seeing him on stage in London. I think he was at the Gielgud or at the Noah Coward Theatre doing The Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact for all of you guys, go and rewatch Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where he's an unnamed extra when the Queen's retaking the palace and they're using the grappling hooks to go up. I think he's all the way to the left, but it's Richard Armitage without a beard. And then, I'm like, when I first heard about this, I was like, no. And as we're watching the movie and you're looking there, it's like, that's fucking Richard Armitage. Good for you, mate. That was 1997 when the film was shot and 1999 when it came out.
Yeah. And funnily enough, I only, from the top of my head, know one other performance of his, which I never saw, but I always meant to watch it and never got there. He portrays the Red Dragon in the Hannibal adaptation with Mads Mikkelsen in the TV show.
Yeah, I never watched it far enough for that.
Exactly, same. But not because I didn't enjoy it. It's just I remember I watched it when streaming online was still easier. And I watched the first 2 seasons of Hannibal. Thoroughly enjoyed it, by the way.
Same,
Massive recommendation. Not for the faint of heart. It's definitely...
It's gory as fuck and very creative.
Funnily enough, very aesthetic in its gore.
Yes.
But it's a rough watch if you're not used to that kind of stuff.
With great performances and storylines, though.
Throughout. Lawrence Fishburne, Mads Mikkelsen. I unfortunately forget Will's actor.
Same. It's been years, sorry.
Yeah, and Richard Armitage is the villain in the third and final season of the film, where he is portraying the Red Dragon, which I still want to catch up on at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's
Moving
that.
on.
Moving on to, I just looked it up and I immediately forgot again. Oh, yes. This is going to be uncomfortable.
Brace yourselves.
So, when we talk about fictional crushes and people think of, say, the prime time of, like, Tumblr and fandoms and the golden age of television around 2008, 2010.
I'm afraid.
And teenage girls at the time, because I was like 13, 14 around then.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, it's Damon Salvatore from The Vampire Diaries.
Let me look that up, because I avoided The Vampire Diaries like the plague.
The actor's name is Ian Somerhalder. And I will also say I only fully committed to watching The Vampire Diaries during lockdown. Before that, I only occasionally tuned in and occasionally watched it because my full focus was on a different show that was airing at the same time, very much in the same lane, which we will get to later.
Oh, goody.
But yeah, Damon Salvatore, the one of the 2 brothers from The Vampire Diaries, the 2 vampire brothers, hence the name, and the intended to be toxic, not good, wrong choice for the female lead, Elena. And Stefan, his brother, intended to be the good boy and the good vampire, and Damon was the more primal, carnal vampire with no problem with killing and all that kind of stuff.
So there's absolutely no surprise there why you went for that guy?
None.
Did you write any fan fiction on this one?
No, because like I said, during my fan fiction writing time, I was highly focused on a different show along those lines, and I only, in 2020 or 2021, I watched all of Vampire Diaries in like one go because it was lockdown, guys. Come on, give me a break.
I mean, he even kind of looks like your first crush there from NCIS, you know.
Yeah, I think that's also a theme that's gonna, yeah, again, I have a type.
You don't say. Let me just look something up because I think I know him from something.
Ian Somerhalder. He was in a Netflix show that aired a few years ago, which is also revolving around vampires. I forget the name of it. But yeah, he's not a vampire in that one, as far as I know. I didn't watch it, funnily enough. But it's something about like also a vampire epidemic, I think, breaking out. Something like that. I'm trying to remember the name right now, but I can't. But if you look up his filmography, I'm sure it'll come up.
No, I remember what he was in. It was Marco Polo, which was also a Netflix show. I think ran for 2 seasons. I liked that very much, but I don't remember him.
Is that what I'm referring to? No, it isn't. What am I
No,
referring to?
Marco Polo has no vampires.
What am I referring to? Let me quickly look it up. Ian Somerhalder. Let me just be able to type, please. Somerhalder. Somerhalder.
Careful now, you're dropping out.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm also just typing and thinking out loud, so it's really not that interesting for V-Wars.
Say what now?
V-Wars.
Like Vampire Wars?
Yes.
Okay, I'm putting the plug on that one as well.
I never saw it. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, Damon, same thing. He's introduced as the anti-hero, and then the longer the show runs, the more we get to see a different side to him, which really shouldn't redeem all the murdering that he does. But,
no, it totally does.
He's a pretty man, and then you're like, oh, but he was sad. Then it's fine.
Yes.
And Elena also ends up with him. Spoilers for Vampire Diaries, I guess. But they fully committed to the plotline in the end that Elena doesn't end up with the golden, nice, blonde, of course, as well, boy, Stefan. But she gets the toxic anti-hero brunette dark-haired one, and they end up together.
And what do we learn from that? It's perfectly fine to murder people if you're sad and you're going to get your love interest by the end of it.
Exactly.
So be as toxic, as abusive, as murderous as you'd like to be, as long as you've got a good reason and somebody gets the urge to fucking change you.
Funnily enough, they even, I think in season 5 or something, from out of 8 seasons, they even address that. Like Elena and Damon have a huge breakup, which obviously doesn't stick, where they're like, we're toxic for each other, this isn't okay, I just murdered someone and you're willing to make excuses for me again, this is not okay, Elena, can't you see this, we're codependent, all of that, but doesn't matter, they still end up together.
I see your point, Damon?
Damon.
I see your point, Damon, now let's have sex on that corpse.
Oh yeah, not on the corpse, but yeah, sex ensues.
See, it's
Yeah.
Fair
And
enough.
if depending on my ranking, we may stay in the same universe because we're still coming back to it once.
Goody.
But we're not. We're gonna make a quick deviation before that to the other show I was talking about that arguably had a way bigger impact on my life.
Oh, let me hazard a guess. Is it Supernatural?
Of course it is.
Ooh.
Of course it is.
Ooh, which of the brothers is it?
None.
Seriously?
That's later. That's higher up on the tier
for
list.
fuck's sake. Okay. You just enjoy fucking people in several rooms of the same house, you know? Like
No. I'm sticking with one, brother. I'm not. I'm sticking to one of the Winchesters, and this now is
phrasing.
Well,
sorry.
Well, I like to keep it a bit more. What's the word? Celestial in this way.
Okay. I was about to. Yeah, hit me.
It's Lucifer. It's the actual physical devil.
You know,
hear me out.
There's having a type, and then there's having an archetype. You know what I mean? And we're talking about the literal devil. You know, I can change him.
Yeah, and this is only place 7 out of 12, by the way. He ranked midway. The actual devil ranked halfway through. Okay, so do me a favor. You've been looking them all up. Look up Mark Pellegrino.
Mark Pellegrino,
yes.
like the bloody mineral water.
Yeah, double L as well. Yeah.
There you go. Well done, him.
Because the thing about Supernatural is that demons and angels, both heavily featured in the show, tend to swap actors here and there. Because the idea of the show is they are, since they're not human or corporeal in that way, they take vessels and possess them. And the demons can just do that willy-nilly and just jump into anybody who's weak of mind, basically. So anyone, because we're humans. And angels need to ask permission. And then they get to enter a body, if the person says, yes, you're allowed to possess me. And archangels, they can only stay in a random vessel for so long before it burns up. And they have true vessels that could technically hold them forever. So Lucifer is being portrayed by, I want to say 5 different actors throughout the show, if I'm not complete, 4 or 5.
But if Lucifer is Mark Pellegrino, is that correct?
Yes. So Mark Pellegrino is his first vessel that we meet him as, by the name of Nick. And he then jumps vessel here and there, but for the longest time when he's on the show, it mainly is Mark Pellegrino.
That's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And he was, I mean, look at that shit. He was in Capote, he was in Mulholland Drive, he was in The Big Lebowski.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody hell, man.
He is one of the bigger guest appearances in the first 2 seasons, I think, of Dexter. For the people that are familiar with Dexter, he plays Rita's ex-husband, abusive ex-husband, who's in the beginning of the show in jail for abusing her physically.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also the father of her 2 children, and then he comes back at some point, and I think Dexter murders him, but he's there for a good bit. Guest starring in some episodes here and there. But yeah, what can I say about Lucifer? Lucifer in Supernatural really is, I mean, of course he's the devil. He is the big bad, and so to keep it as brief as possible, Supernatural ran for a huge amount of seasons, right?
Wasn't
way
like
longer.
11 or something?
No, 15.
Oh, sorry.
It ran for 15 years, 15 seasons. But it was originally intended for 5 seasons. That was the original script that Eric Kripke wrote, also writer of The Boys, and what's the word? Inventor. No, that's not what I mean.
Creator,
thank you very much, of The Boys, also the creator of Supernatural, and Kripke wrote the storyline of the first 5 seasons.
I think we're going to do a deep dive into Supernatural at some point, because I know that there's a lot of confusion towards the end of the seasons and whatnot, because they intended one thing. I think COVID interfered with that. And
a little bit, yeah.
Exactly. We'll go into that, but yeah, give us the literal devil.
Exactly. And so Lucifer was set up to be the final villain of the whole show. So the storyline of the first 5 seasons all intertwine, even though it's very much a Monster of the Week formula. Mm-hmm. The longer the show runs, and the seasons are long, right? They're like 20 to 24 episodes, each episode 45 to 50 minutes long. So it's a commitment. Supernatural is, again, golden age of television. It started airing in 2005. So smack bang in the time where like ABC and HBO and all the shows were like low key bigger than films at the time. At least for like home TV and like home life. And Lucifer and Michael, the 2 archangels, at the end of season 5 are like, we're gonna fight it out now. We're gonna have the apocalypse and we're gonna fight heaven and hell. Huge war. See who wins. And Sam and Dean are in between. They're like, lads, just a quick reminder, there's people here. And we would kind of die if you did that, most of us. And they're like, well, you want an omelet, you gotta smash eggs, etc. So the plot line is that Sam and Dean are trying to stop the apocalypse from happening. The actual physical fight between good and evil. Whilst, of course, being the true vessels of Michael and Lucifer. So it's heavy on the symbolism. And Dean, the more like anti-hero-esque brother, the big brother, the sarcastic, alcoholic, playboy-coded bad boy, is actually the vessel of Michael for heaven. Mm-hmm. And Sam, the good boy, the one who went on to Stanford to study, who tried to live a good life, had a girlfriend for a while, and tried to get out of the whole monster hunting life and be normal, is the true vessel of Lucifer, of the devil. So when Lucifer then physically pops up in the show for season 5, he is actually incredibly charming. And just tries to get Sam to see his point. Because he's trying to be really rational about it at first. And he's like, look, this is really not personal. I mean, I hate you humans, but not personally. It's just, you're kind of flawed, naked apes. And I just didn't get the point that Dad, as in God, was like, bow down in front of these. Like, sorry, but you're not better than me. You're worse in every sense of the term. So that's why he got kicked out of heaven, and that's how he displays it. He's really just a child throwing a temper tantrum.
And I don't know how Sam feels about it, but you fell for the pitch, didn't you?
I did.
I was about to say, because you were giving us all this context, and I'm thinking like, where's the one thing where I know this was it? And like, I can only imagine they're sitting in a cafe or whatever. He's giving him the pitch. You're just sort of eyeballing him as he walks in. It's like, oh, he's nice. And oh, he's sitting down at the table right next to me. Excellent. He's giving the pitch, and Sam's not convinced. And you had someone just chiming in, mate, you make so much sense. Take me in any way you want.
No, because
he's the literal devil. I know.
He even goes
but he's misunderstood.
Yeah,
and he's got such a good point. And have you seen his cheekbones? I mean, talk
look,
about
I usually
sploosh.
don't go for blondes, but the fact that I completely fell for him and he is blonde says a lot. Because he's also like, nature, planet Earth, plants, animals. This is God's perfect creation. And I want to protect this. This is all beautiful and I love every aspect of it. It's just humans are really annoying.
The term enabler is being thrown around a lot these days. And I don't think a celestial being like the devil needs an enabler. But, like, if somebody challenges you and they're like, well, like, you've got a point, but, listen to X, Y, Z and all that. And you're just like, babe, you're so right about this. Let's end all of this. We're a virus with shoes and, like, we need to protect the planet, which I'm all in favor for.
The thing is, it's not really about that, right? It's really just because he was hurt, because his father suddenly gave his attention to the new toy and he's really just jealous. He's really just, because he was the golden boy before, Lucifer. He was the morning star, the bringer of light. It's literally in the name. It comes from lux and ferre in Latin. It literally means bringer of light. And he was so important and he was most beloved in all of heaven. And out of nowhere, suddenly that is better. And he just didn't get that. And
so Lucifer doesn't like change. Okay, fair enough. There might be a bit of, like, blame to go around here because basically, when you pamper a child for a certain amount of time.
God is at fault.
And then that's a pretty tall order if we're
in
staying
in Supernatural, oh my God, don't come for me.
Like, I can only imagine that then, God shows up in whatever manifestation and then, like...
by the name of Chuck, and the actor is called Rob something. Yeah, continue.
I hate that I asked. But, like, just like, babe, you let me handle this. And you're just wailing into God.
100%.
Who do you think you are? Oh. Just because you're omnipotent, omniscient, and all that?
No idea, man.
You're a bad father. And
okay, but spoilers for Supernatural, that is how the show ends.
I hate everything about this.
Okay.
And the thing is, I have a clear suspicion that when at some point we'll watch it, I'm going to love it, and then I'll be like, yeah, I think he's got a point, and then I'll get a T-shirt and everything.
Yes. So that's that. Lucifer is
beautiful.
Lucifer is my son.
Then I'll throw in one of mine, which, if you know me, shouldn't come as a surprise. For me, it was, oh God, around what time? Must have been the late 90s, I think, just before the prequel trilogy came out. Princess Leia.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah, but, if you think about it, first of all, if you know a bit about Carrie Fisher is an awesome person.
No, but hold that thought. This is episode what? 10? Maybe?
No, 12,
9,
13
12,
or 14.
12. How often? Throughout all the episodes.
Every episode.
There we go. Okay, continue.
There we are. This is about me mentioning Star Wars. But the thing is, first of all, Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, because, yes. Gone too soon. But the thing is, first of all, this was a woman, who wrote incredible books about the nature of Hollywood and what it does to people, and that nobody talks about it. And she was very vocal about it and was respected for it. She was a very respected script doctor as well.
Yes.
She would have been wonderful to, certainly doctor some of the scripts that came with her own fucking franchise that she was in. But Princess Leia, first of all, here is someone who can lead with just all kinds of ass kicking because, she's incarcerated, her home planet's getting blown up, and the thing is, if you think about it, please stop pointing things out to me. For example, Ben Kenobi dies, right? And Lucas, torn up about it. Fair enough, another person died that you known for a day and a half.
Well,
and then, Leia's comforting him. And this is, Exactly, a script written from a male perspective. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I'm so sorry you lost Ben.
Pat.
We literally just saw my planet get blown up, but I'll get over it.
Yeah.
This is all about you, boy. And then
yeah.
I mean, the woman looked amazing in whatever outfit she was wearing. And to be perfectly honest, I never fully got the appeal of the, episode 6, the steel bikini and all that. I never quite got that.
Also referenced in Friends, I believe. I think that's the thing where like Ross is to Rachel and he's like, I have this one thing. And then Rachel full on cosplays Princess Leia for Ross. I remember that.
The Princess Leia was all of that and more, because, first of all, a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But also somebody, who was a fully fleshed out character, because she had her weaknesses. She had her moments where basically she faltered. But at the same time, the cause came almost every time before everything else. And here was someone, even in the sequel trilogy, think about what you want. But for as long as she was in it, and, let's not talk about her flirting through space and all of that. You can think about whatever you want. But the thing is, she aged or matured so beautifully in a way, the way she carried herself, the dignity and what she embodied about,
the depth of a character only increased with age.
The ideals she embodied and, which were literally expressed through the way she held herself.
Yeah.
And that was clear that there was somebody, she came from aristocracy, stood up for what was right. And, even in the face of battle, got her hands dirty, even in the face of overwhelming animosity, carried herself with dignity. And at the same time, wasn't reduced to that, again, had her moments of, giving in, of weakness, of whatnot, of feeling insecure about it. But overall, this was somebody who knew when what a moment asked for.
Yeah.
And she had the quality of a natural leader. I mean, of course, she was raised that way. But he is somebody where it's like, yeah, there is no way people wouldn't follow her. And this is something, where when we come to the point of superimposing character qualities onto the person themselves. But if you read her books, listen to interviews with her, and her commentary on Hollywood. This is somebody who speaks with a certain amount of authority because she knows what she's talking about. She's the daughter, or she was the daughter of Debbie Reynolds, I believe. A very famous actress in and of herself, who was actually opposed to her taking on the role of Princess Leia. And she was basically with her mum on the phone. She's like, "Mum, I want to do this." Or when she told the story about how the studio told her, "Okay, we want you as Princess Leia, but you need to lose 10 pounds."
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, and they expected me to lose 10 pounds here and 10 pounds here.
Yeah.
Basically 5 pounds here and 5 pounds here, indicating her cheeks. And she knew how the system worked.
Yeah.
And in that way, she could work the system. And I think so. I think she did so from a very early age on. And this is what gives her the authority in those films. Because she is the only woman of note in the original trilogy, except for maybe episode 6 when Mon Mothma appears briefly. But here's someone where you absolutely believe she can stand up to Grand Moff Tarkin. She would stand up
easily
to Vader while still being intimidated by the man.
Yeah, but I always felt like she stayed authentic.
Yeah.
So even like you said, she was intimidated or scared or just fragile for some reason because a lot of shit's going down in Star Wars.
Yes.
She priorities were always clearly set for her, and she was able to. She didn't compartmentalize in the way that I would say she would just shut off one thing and focus on another. Somehow she always managed to keep the grief, the stress, the intimidation, whatever it was, alive. But you could always witness the process. The actor, as in Carrie Fisher, made visible the process for the audience that was going on in Princess Leia's head. That she was like, okay, I'm feeling this way, but this is not the time. This is important now.
Yes,
and that made her so real.
But I'll take all the experience I've got up to this point, and I'm going to use it in the task that's at hand.
Yeah.
as a sort of energy. And this was something I found very appealing because he is someone you want to either aspire to or, have as a partner, because this is the kind of partner who'll call you out on your bullshit, not in a destructive manner, but it can also where like he is somebody you can do something together with.
Mm-hmm.
This is not somebody who's going to be a pet or anything, because the last thing that you want is a partner, I believe. He is somebody who can speak with a certain authority, and if they call you out, you better start listening, because they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is because thinking about it, I don't believe Carrie Fisher is what we'd consider what do we call it? Classically beautiful in a way. Conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Because she's a very beautiful woman, or she was a very beautiful woman. That's not it. But in terms of when we're talking the late 70s and all of that,
she's not a Barbie. She has
she's
character.
not the classic babe.
Yeah, exactly.
So to speak. I know that term's probably no longer in fashion, but when we're talking about the context of the times.
Yes.
And the whole thing, every aspect of her life, of her career, is super fucking fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And first, of course, like when I was younger, that was just the character of Princess Leia, and I learned more and more and more and read some of her books and all of that. Look into her. That woman was amazing. And, like even when she died when she had a heart attack on that plane flight, like she knew that, and she sort of, from what you can read about it, she sort of, how would you call it? Took it head on, and said she knew, okay, I'm probably not going to make it out of this.
Yeah.
Took care of the people around her, basically.
Insane.
And then this is the kind of dignity, and this is the kind of
care for others as well. Imagine you're dying and you're primarily concerned with that everyone else is okay with that happening right now.
In my understanding, that means you really got somewhere in life as a person. So deeply impressed to this very point. Major crush of mine back in the day.
Understandable.
So continue with your list.
Sorry, I'm just still a bit whiplashed by the difference between how you spoke about Ariel and how you spoke about Princess Leia now. It's just like, Ariel is a nice, pretty mermaid. Okay, but Leia, let me give you the psychological rundown. I know. This is just gonna make me sound super shallow now, so there we go. But I think I can keep this brief, because we just talked about Lucifer quite a lot. And in a way, the next one on my list is just Lucifer and the Vampire Diaries / the spin-off show, The Originals, which is Klaus Michelson.
Is that the name of the character?
Yes, the name of the character. The name of the actor is... Oh my god, did it escape me just now? He's a British actor.
Of course he is.
I know, right? Oh my god, the name escapes me.
I'm looking up the IMDb page right now. So Klaus
Michelson, Mikkelson. So he has Scandinavian, like the character has Scandinavian roots.
Yeah, just give me a second here. Oh wow, Joseph Morgan.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
He basically looks exactly the same as all the others.
Yeah. Klaus is one of the originals in the show, hence also the name of the spin-off show of the Vampire Diaries, which I think even was more successful than the original show, if I'm not completely wrong. And it describes the first vampires, the ones that started it all, that were born from a witch's curse, if I'm not completely wrong right now, or curse of nature. No, I think it's a witch's curse. And there is Klaus, Rebecca, Elijah, and Cole. I think those 4. There may have been a 5th sibling that got killed early on in the Vampire Diaries when they get introduced. But and Klaus is the most toxic character in a show of toxic characters.
You should really stop saying that, because we're talking about your crushes. Like, well, basically he's toxic, he's the devil, he murdered people.
I'm fine, guys. I'm good.
I'm so glad we managed to get, what was it, like 2 good guys in there?
Yeah.
And they're related. So, like, you're doing the big funhouse of fucked up things.
Look, we're not in my top 3 yet. I still have an option to remedy myself somewhat. Klaus is a typical character of... We introduced him as the villain, and I believe then the show writers realized that he was quite popular with the female fan base, which, let's be real, the show mainly had. So they kept him in, they gave him more plot, and they gradually shifted him from full-on, full-fledged villain into morally gray, sort of, we can consider him a good guy now after a few years character. Because he murders people at first, and then he has a daughter that he loves very much later. Yeah. And the longer the show runs, the more background knowledge we get from Klaus, and we also, of course, always understand where he comes from and what's happened and what twisted him into the monster that he is nowadays. And of course, with all the background knowledge, if you really understand him, then you could get literally his one love interest in the originals is she's a therapist.
There's a reason therapists have supervisors, because, like, are you falling again for the psychomaniac? No, I'm not. But, you don't understand him as I do, and I can change him, and he's so misunderstood. He never stood a chance. The world turned him into a monster. Why would he apologize for that? Jesus.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Let's.
I don't know who's next. Let's hope there's not the same character basically again. What's 5? No. This is, okay, this is fine.
I am so glad we're not in the vein of, having, what you call it, pen pal ships with serial killers in prisons. Because I'd stop you from sending out mail. Isn't that, you give me that letter. You give me that letter.
We don't live in America. That's not an issue here.
There you go. Okay, move on.
We are now moving into, I think, what you expected to come up way sooner in terms of show that has not been mentioned yet. One Piece.
Oh, right. Yeah, I expected something might come out of that. But with you, I'm not entirely sure who it might be. I have
You won't know.
I have a suspicion, exactly, but I don't believe it is him. Okay, go for it.
Not yet, anyway. I'm pretty sure you'll be right at some point. Trafalgar Law.
Don't know him.
By full name, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. He is a character. I mean, One Piece, for the people that don't know, is my Star Wars. And I always mention it all the time. And it's still ongoing. So it started airing / being published in 1997, if I'm not completely wrong, in Japan. 1999 here in the West, I believe. So there is, since then, of course, a plethora of characters that have been introduced, that exist, and that are also recurring. And Law is a character that was introduced about, I want to say, 10 years ago, at something that that is considered by the fan base sort of the halfway point of the entire storyline of One Piece. Because we have a point where we have a time skip, and before that we have, like, the classic idea of a story builds and builds and builds, and then there's the travesty that happens from which then growth spurs. And of course that is in every story arc that happens, but there is, like, one very clear point of no return travesty in the overall storyline for the main characters, for the Straw Hats, where they all get defeated and separated, and then for 2 years they don't see each other. And around that time is when Law gets introduced as another pirate, another captain. There's the idea that a whole generation of young pirates that got inspired by the death of the Pirate King, who then asked people to go and find his treasure, the One Piece. There's, like, 2 generations that are out there. There's the older generation that was still that knew Roger in person, that was sailing with him, that fought with him, whatever. Sort of the mentor figures to our main characters. And then there's the main characters as a generation of their own. And they're considered the worst generation, because they have just a lot of very strong pirates that came out on top after a while, that are now sort of forming an alliance here and there, and the world government and the Marines are really concerned about them, and Law is one of them. And we got to know these 11 other really strong characters as potential enemies. But the longer the story went on, we realized they are potential allies. And Law is the first one who becomes a potential ally. And he is also a character that stays with the main characters for quite a while, because he kind of ropes them into a revenge arc that he himself has going on. Because Law is a tactician. He's a doctor. He's actually a surgeon. He's incredibly intelligent. He also has devil fruit powers, and he's very, very, very strong. And he is sort of a character that is an enigma for quite a while.
Is that him?
That is him. Yes, he is introduced with his middle finger up, and he is tattooed. So yeah. Yes.
It immediately makes sense. I don't know. I don't need to know anything further about him if I think about it. Jesus Christ.
But I
stumbled into DeviantArt. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, that's a mistake. He is voiced by the same voice actor who voices Levi, if I'm not completely wrong right now in Japanese. And but Law is just a full-on good guy. But we follow him for a while, and we as readers / viewers of the anime, we have the chance to bond to him because he stays with the Straw Hats for a really long time, and he is a main character for quite a while, so long so that there was speculation if he was going to join the crew permanently and become like a main character, which didn't happen because he still has a captain of his own and he has his own ambitions, and but he's one of the closest allies the Straw Hats have at this point. And he, of course, also have a tragic backstory because all of the characters in One Piece need to have an incredibly tragic backstory.
I was about to ask, but is he haunted, though, by his past? Is he...
Not anymore. So he is haunted by his past, and that's when the Straw Hats come in. And there's this other very powerful pirate, ex-pirate, takes too long to explain now, called Doflamingo. And Doflamingo basically killed Law's mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And is at the same time, Law as a very young boy joined Doflamingo's crew. And Doflamingo was gonna mold him into someone just as evil as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And Doflamingo's younger brother, Corazon, is not an evil guy, or was not an evil guy. He was actually a Marine undercover, spying on his own brother, trying to bring down the shadow empire that his older brother was building up. And he saved Law from that until Doflamingo found out and killed Corazon. And Law, of course, never forgave him. And since then was on a hunt for revenge to bring down Doflamingo. And he does that together with Straw Hats because Doflamingo's just a really bad person. And the Straw Hats come across him and see what he's doing. We're talking slave trade. We're talking Colosseum fights in between, between people. We're talking abducting people and erasing people's memories so that they don't even know their father is missing. We're talking having taken over a whole kingdom that he had no claim to, and just ruling that for years on end, with the actual royal family suffering in the background and being hunted, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Villain.
So we've got the backstory, and
yeah.
For once, okay, technically speaking, Law is a good guy.
He's a full-on good guy.
He's a full-on good guy. What is it about him that you found so appealing?
He is low-key about it. Like, for lack of a better word, he's cool. He's just really, he's nonchalant. He is low-key. He can be very intense, but he doesn't show his cards. And One Piece really has characters that how can I say? So the main character, Luffy, he is, what you see is what you get. Luffy plays no games. He has no second layer to him. He is everything he thinks he says, everything he plans, he immediately tells everyone, and he is just an open book.
Yes.
And that's his character trait. He is the definition of happy-go-lucky. He is the definition of naive, but can back up everything he says, so it doesn't really bite him in the ass, because he is such a good soul that people just follow him because of that. People see him and they're like, that person is hope personified. Yeah, without him trying.
Exactly. This is what I always thought so interesting, because he's got childish mannerisms and all that. He's exactly over the top.
He's annoying.
Annoying a lot of the time, over the top.
Just until someone threatens someone he cares about, and then
he's got something exactly that draws people to him, and allows him to lead them, actually.
Exactly.
And I think you're providing a very good answer for that.
Yeah, and Law is the opposite. He is very quiet. He's a tactician. He plays games, but never nefariously, but always for whatever his greater goal is, which isn't of ill intent. He actually cares about the people. He doesn't show his cards. And he is smart. And he is someone who can provide plot twists because we as the readers or as the viewers also don't know what his next move is going to be. So he's interesting, and currently I miss him in the storyline because I always thought he was a great counterbalance to Luffy, because he cares about his crew just as much as Luffy does, and he actually saves Luffy from certain death once when his crew isn't around. At that point we don't even know why he does it. But he's Luffy, but in a more grown-up sense.
But from what you're describing, I can see why he fits your type.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so glad to see that for once, he seems to be, let's say, a bit more wholesome.
Look, there's hope for me yet.
There's hope for you yet. All right, moving on.
Moving on. Let's see. That was place number 5 already. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna undo all the work that I just... So you're familiar with Peaky Blinders, no?
Yes, I watched the first 2 seasons.
Yes.
Liked it a lot.
Yes. So you hazard a guess who I may be talking about now.
Arthur Shelby.
No, it's way more obvious.
No, Arthur Shelby is the brother that's always
Exactly.
proclaiming his name. Well, yeah, no, I was
Cillian
joking.
Murphy.
Thomas Shelby.
Tommy.
For a second, I hoped that it would be at least, I don't know, Tom Hardy's character.
I was debating that, but I think that would be more in my top 20. I do enjoy what's his bloody name?
Alfie Solomon.
Alfie. I enjoy Alfie a lot, and I'm really happy that that Tom Hardy plays such a big role in the show that he does.
Always a treat.
Always a treat. But it's Tommy.
Allow me to go in there, because I only watched the first 2 seasons, and I sort of get it. I mean, he's not a wholesome character. You shouldn't be around him and all of that. But first of all, Cillian Murphy, even when he's lost a lot of weight for Oppenheimer, first of all, he's a good-looking man.
Such an attractive man.
Like seriously.
Unfortunately, he's my height. I hate knowing when actors are my height or shorter than me. It makes me so sad.
But there you go. He's got a bit of this androgynous thing going on for him. He's got incredible cheekbones, a mouth, like for days.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I get it,
eyes,
with a whole broody thingy, the way the man can smoke a cigarette and all of that, like trying to take care of his own people and all. I'm just going with what I...
Yep. I'm just nodding along.
Why I'm getting this. It's the Brummy accent in that case, it works.
Also his war trauma that he always keeps under lock and key with people that he loves, as to not burden them, but then we see how bad it is and everything.
And let's be real here. If you've got all of this going on with a man this good looking being also this well dressed,
yeah,
because the attire, there's a reason people like it.
He is incredibly intelligent. He is charismatic. I don't think I need to go on. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory.
I think we'll move on, or else I'll be.
I was going to say, otherwise you're going to steal him from my list.
Oh, I am.
Do you want to? Now, that was my top.
I think
4.
I'm going to go last.
Okay. So then we move into my top 3 then.
There we are.
All right. Now the question is, do you wanna hazard a guess?
Which of the brothers is first?
That as well, just in general, who might be the top 3, my top 3 crushes. So obviously this was the first 3 characters that I thought of when we discussed the topic.
Mm-hmm. So there's going to be the Winchester brothers, I'm sure.
Correct.
Both of them. So I just
not both of them. Just one of them.
Not just one of them. Okay, fair enough. I don't know enough about them to know.
No, that's fair, but that's correct.
All right.
I hope that is correct.
Can you give me a hint on the other 2? Just
yes,
something.
One is who you thought from One Piece initially, I reckon.
Is it Zoro?
Yes, of course
there
it is.
We are.
And one is probably my most formative real life person crush, who's very obvious for people that know me personally in real life.
But the thing is, we're talking Wait, but we're still talking about a fictional character.
Yes. But it's not animated or anything like that. He's also not from a TV show, from film.
From film. Okay, so is it out of Harry Potter?
No.
It's not from
Funnily enough, I never had any, say, for lack of a better word, sexual attraction to anyone from the Harry Potter characters.
All right, then I need a bit of a hint.
Disney.
Jesus. That's narrowing it down, not by a whole lot. Sorry.
Again, not animated.
Not animated. It's not a TV show. It's a film. It's not one of the live-action remakes.
No. Nope.
So, oh my God, it has to be Pirates of the Caribbean. Is it Jack Sparrow?
Of course it is.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Let's. I'm just now. I'm very, very, very anxious to see what's the actual order of things here.
Yeah. Okay. So I had to sort of, because those three really would rank evenly if I just looked at them, because that's just the very clear three that pop up when I say fictional crush. So I kind of had to go by formative years when they popped up in my life. So Dean is Dean Winchester, Jensen Ackles, the actor, the older Winchester brother. He is my number 3, which is funny because Dean is definitely the one that I was crushing on in the classical term the most. Like, you know, if he was a real life man, I would have been all over that man from the moment that I saw the first episode properly when I was like 14.
He's the vessel for Michael, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Contradictory enough.
Exactly.
Right. He's also the drinker. He's also the bad boy. He's not the one who went to Stanford.
Exactly.
But he's also very protective of his brother and all of that.
Yes, incredibly so.
You'll be dead before you hit the ground.
Yes, he's also the one who keeps bringing his brother back to life no matter, and kills himself over it again and again and again, and he would murder the entire planet for Sam.
So far, so obvious why you're into him.
Yes. And Dean is sort of like Tony, to bring it back round in a way. Dean is also, he is deeply traumatized because of their upbringing, because he was 5 when their mother got murdered. No, he was 3, sorry, when their mother got murdered by a demon. And he had to carry his baby brother out of his crib with their mother burning to death on the ceiling above them, with her stomach cut open and bleeding onto Sam as the baby. And Dean stands in the doorway and sees the fire erupt, and his father then comes in as well, who's an ex-Marine, also traumatized from Vietnam, I believe. And he just takes the baby and gives it to his 3-year-old son and just says, "Take your brother and run as fast as you Dean. Now, Dean, go." And that's his main character trait. All his life is protect Sammy. Be a good soldier, listen to dad, do whatever he says, don't question it, don't question orders, and protect your brother with your life. And that's how he was brought up. Then John Winchester, portrayed by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, raised his sons to hunt monsters. He didn't know that they existed before Mary got killed, but then obviously he couldn't deny it. So their primary mission is to find whatever killed Mary. And they just kill everything they find on the way. That's the premise of the first season, basically. And the brothers have been brought up in that way, and Dean was always the very compliant, good boy in that sense, that always wanted dad's approval and did everything for that. And Sam was always the rebellious one in that sense, because Sam was like, I don't want to hunt, I want to live a normal life, I don't care about that, I don't remember Mom, I was too young. I know it's horrible, it sucks, but it doesn't mean anything to me, and I would just like to live a normal life, settle down and live, instead of living on the road hunting things. Until Sam's girlfriend gets killed in the same way, and then Sam is on board with Dean, trying to find what it is. And Dean covers up his traumatic upbringing, because that's not a good way to raise a child. He is pretty fucked. Through jokes, through pop culture references, films, TV shows, music, quite a lot of music. He is huge on classic rock, everything from the 70s and 80s, so like a lot of Metallica, a lot of AC/DC, a lot of Led Zeppelin, all that kind of stuff. and he would never, ever, 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 ever show that he has emotions or that he is emotionally attached to anyone he cares about, which he does deeply, unless they are threatened or something really bad is happening. So he's actually great with kids, which is established really early on. And that is such a turn of events for what we learn him to be, the cool, hard bad boy. And then suddenly they have a case, third episode it is, A Dead in the Water, where there was a little child who witnessed whatever happened, but he wouldn't speak since then. And suddenly Dean turns into this incredibly compassionate guy who's full of empathy, who manages to get the child to bond to him, the mother of the child, in awe. He's like, he hasn't reacted to anyone in weeks. How did you do that? And because Dean can relate to that so much because he was a traumatized child. And
so basically, he's ticking all the boxes. You've got the brooding guy. He's got a lot of trauma. He's, coping with it in a non-healthy way. He's got the long hair. He's a good-looking guy. But at the same time,
he's in love with the woman, and then he lets her go because he's too dangerous to be around, and he's the bigger person and erases her memory.
He's great with kids and all of that. So,
That's Dean.
Okay, I can see that. And Supernatural comes up a lot, and it's going to come up in its own episode.
It will.
So please move on.
Now,
let's see.
Second will be Jack Sparrow. Pirates of the Caribbean holds an incredibly dear place in my heart. I'm actually currently rewatching all of them with my partner, and they came out for the first time in we just looked it up. I think 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 4. Maybe it was 2000. No, it was 2003. I was 6. And it was the first real life film that I can remember that I watched that wasn't animated, that wasn't a cartoon or anything like that. And it was also the favorite film of my parents and me. Because usually our tastes didn't really align. And my dad would usually be the one who would just accept whatever my mum and him and me wanted to watch. And he would just watch it because he's a very patient, lovely guy. But he also really enjoyed Pirates of the Caribbean. So we watched that film countless times. That is just a really happy memory that I have.
That's fair enough.
Love the music. Think it's personally, it's the best movie score of all time. People can come for me. I don't care. I think Hans Zimmer's soundtrack for Pirates of the Caribbean, He's a Pirate, is unmatched. And it will never fail to get my endorphins and my euphoria pumping.
Fair enough, but since I've watched, I think except for Salazar's Revenge or Dead Men Tell No Tales, I don't know, depending on where you watched it.
Dead Men Tell, yeah, that's the 4th one.
Is it? I think it's the 5th. The 4th is the
Blackbeard.
one with
4th is Blackbeard. Yes, exactly. 5th. Yeah.
So I've watched the first 4, and I find his performance, Johnny Depp's performance, to be perfectly honest, it's a Johnny Depp performance. What you expect out of his later career.
I didn't know other Johnny Depp performances at the time.
That's perfectly fine.
And I was 6.
But at the same time, thinking and here's the thing: this implied love triangle. What the fuck is appealing about this guy? As a woman, I find him entertaining, don't get me wrong. But what on earth is...
He's so hot. What do you mean? He is so attractive.
How?
So first
and I
of
mean,
all...
yeah, you're not the first woman or even person to tell me this. But I'm just like, yeah, I overall consider Johnny Depp...
campy. He is campy to fuck. And he isn't afraid of it. Johnny Depp as well, but especially Jack Sparrow is so camp, and he embraces it fully, and he doesn't hide a single part of it, and that makes it so appealing.
And I'm going to say, and this might be controversial in and of its own right, and people might come for me if anyone ever listens to this podcast. I think, and this might be wrong of me to think that because I don't know the man, but this is a performance that rings to me as I don't give a shit. Like seriously, because don't get me wrong, I know that he researched certain aspects of it, so this is just something that I sort of get the vibe, even though I know it's not true. But I find this character so unappealing because when it comes to Johnny Depp, especially when he was a bit younger and all that, incredibly good looking man, incredibly talented actor. And I was so happy when, quite a few years back now, Black Mass came out, where he plays an Irish-American mobster, which was fantastic. It was lauded and all of that because, I think one of the best things and the worst things that ever happened to Johnny Depp was working with Tim Burton because it works in several directions, but it clearly sort of, what would you call it, gave a certain direction to his career and how he approaches his performance. You can expect a certain thing out of Johnny Depp performances. Nobody watched Mordecai for good fucking reason.
I did.
I love Sleepy Hollow. I watch it every Halloween. Edward Scissorhands is a very touching film, but at the same time, I'm just thinking, I know when it comes to Dark Shadows, when it comes to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I know what to expect of the performance. There's going to be tweaks in certain directions, and this is it. I watched Pirates of the Caribbean relatively late.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, because I expected something like this.
I think his Johnny Deppness developed with Jack Sparrow, and everything that came after Jack Sparrow was that. So if you watch it in a different order, you'll feel like you know the Jack Sparrow performance from these other films you mentioned. But it in my perception of his chronological filmography, that's where he found this style. So the first Pirates of the Caribbean is original in that way if you saw it at the time, because it doesn't compare to Sleepy Hollow. It doesn't compare to what's the 99 Gates or whatever it's called.
Ninth Gate.
Ninth Gate. It doesn't compare to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Well, fair enough, but I give you this. I give you Ed Wood, a relatively early Tim Burton film, considering, where he plays the supposed worst director of all time, Ed Wood. Which also got Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi, gave him an Oscar, an Academy Award win. And in that performance, I see everything that we're going to come to expect of later, not all of them, but a lot of those mainstream Johnny Depp performances, I see that there. And I think Johnny Depp at some point said this, the mainstream became conscious of him with Pirates of the Caribbean, which makes sense.
I mean, that's the whole thing that he, as Jack Sparrow, would come into hospitals and, visit sick children and, make in-character visits to people and everything.
He might have been, a known actor if you knew where to look.
He used to hide in Disneyland as Jack Sparrow and just scare people on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. That's so cool.
But before that, a heartthrob and everything, if you watch Don Juan de Marco or Chocolat or something like this, or, Benny and June, great performance and all that. And then, exactly, he stepped into the mainstream with this.
Yeah.
And
also after his drug problem and everything.
Well, I think he still got
probably,
several problems.
but I think after, wasn't there a dip and then he sort of came back? Same with Robert Downey Jr. Didn't Disney also low-key take a gamble on him? Same they did with Robert Downey Jr.
I don't know enough to now basically make assumptions. I don't want to because I don't want to do wrong by the man. And I'm already Again, I'm not saying the man's lazy, the performance of Jack Sparrow was rehearsed and researched. But the thing is, I'm talking about the tone I'm getting.
Yeah.
And this is interesting to hear, because outside of the sort of hot and camp appeal, I would have never thought of, and I know he is, but of Captain Jack Sparrow as a crush.
Well, it's okay, so there's two ways of approaching this. First of all, I'm also with you. Now rewatching them, being older, also with acting knowledge, more and more, own experiences, both of us being in training, and also acting and just having a different view on the profession because we're on the other side of it and not just watching it. It's very reaction-based acting throughout the whole film. Also from Orlando Bloom, also from Keira Knightley, from most of them. I remember when we rewatched it, Jesus Christ, a few nights ago, I went back because I was like, that was such a hilarious moment, because I guarantee you Johnny Depp just improvised and Orlando Bloom went along and they just kept it in. Guaranteed, because Johnny Depp stands there, stares off at the distance, looks at the sky and says something completely out of context and just goes Yeah. Staring up in the sky, saying his line, whatever it was, I forget, because it didn't connect to the situation at all, and leaves. And Gibbs and Will are just standing there too, and they followed his eyes up, also gazing at the sky, and just furrowed their brows and just looked confused. And it 100% looked like Orlando Bloom was like, what the fuck's he seeing up there, man? What's he doing? And then he like looks down, and there's a flicker in his eyes where you could see like, are we still rolling? Is this in? Is this, what is this? So I'm not saying they are good films in terms of they're not Oscar-worthy, groundbreaking performances.
I mean, let's put it like this: we're saying all of this with respect, because
massive respect.
Even in training, and even with like having certain knowledge or like experience ourselves, there is still, of course, a massive level of subjectivity to all of this, because there is performances that I'll defend or whatever, that where people simply don't see the point
lens
of.
You can
Exactly.
see it through.
And there's I found or like I've talked to people who make a lot of appealing arguments.
And you know
for
what
acting.
I just said, I don't have a problem with it, because I think the film's fun. And I think the improvisational parts, or the parts that seem reactory, add to the charm. I've seen this post once where people were like, oh, this fight scene like that, and that was improvised in Pirates of the Caribbean, and someone commented beneath and was just like, at this point, I am convinced that they just took Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, and Keira Knightley, put them on a ship in the Caribbean, said it's the 16th century, and let them go ham and just had the camera rolling.
Yeah, and
like,
and you can't deny it's fun.
It worked.
You can't deny it's fun.
So fun. Okay, so that out of the way. So Jack Sparrow. First of all, I mean, of course, visually it's very subjective. I love the guyliner. That just gets me. The eyeliner when men wear makeup and just embrace the like this androgynous feel, whilst not tipping too far in one direction, but sort of like balancing the line of male and female.
Fair enough.
I'm here. I'm fully here. And that, I feel like the guy liner in combination with the mustache and the facial hair, the braids, the hair, the gold teeth, the smirk that always feels like he might also just like, he when like the side profile, the side eye, the smirk, he just looks like he would eat you up.
The thing is, I know your partner.
Yeah.
And like I can tick a lot of boxes there where I'm like, okay, he doesn't have the long hair or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, fair enough. This is I can see in your specific case where the attraction comes from.
Now, characterization of Jack Sparrow. He is an anti-hero in every sense of the term. He's not as problematic as other anti-heroes on my list. He didn't actively murder that many people. I mean, if you look at it, he still murders quite a lot of people.
Yeah, but in the line of work he's in,
exactly,
it's
this is his job. But he gets introduced as a very self-serving character. He has his goals, and he will use people, manipulate people, and just take advantage of every situation for his own benefit. But he also does not care about his friends. I find that so incredibly clear at the end, in the climax of the first film, where we think he is selling out Will to Barbossa, to strike a deal with Barbossa. But then it's all a ploy, and he completely trusts that Will gets that, and will play along without them having talked about it. And then in the end, Barbossa thinks he won, and they're all on the Isla de Muerta, and Jack and Barbossa are talking about like, hey, give me the pearl, the black pearl, the ship that he wants. I'll give you all the other ships. You'll be Commodore Barbossa, and I'll be sailing under your flag, and we'll pillage, and you get 10% of my take, and we'll all be good. And you think, fuck, I mean, that'll work, and yeah, good on him. And he doesn't care if Barbossa kills Will and probably Elizabeth out of spite, in principle. But then he says something, and then suddenly the conversation takes a turn, and he says it, yeah, and then people will do something potentially incredibly stupid. Takes a sword, throws it to Will, fight ensues. Because he didn't take Barbossa's side, he wasn't corrupt, he didn't just want the ship, but he has a personal agenda, which is killing Barbossa, who wronged him so horribly. But at the same time, he was not gonna let him kill Will. Because even though they didn't know each other for a very long time, they did sail together, they did bond, and they are friends.
there is noticeable character growth, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without completely compromising the character.
And
I
I
get
will
that.
say, I leave out the 4th and 5th film. I don't think that they do the character justice. I think they lost the plot there. But the original trilogy, I'm gonna call it, has exactly that, where we see steady progression for Jack, for all the characters really, but mainly in Jack's sense, that he becomes more and more, let's call it altruistic, as far as Jack Sparrow can be altruistic.
Fair enough. Right, moving on to your number 1.
Zorro.
Yay.
It's really... So the funny thing, I can keep this sort of brief, I think. So One Piece has been with me since I was like 4. When I got first shown the anime in German TV by a then kindergarten friend who loved it, and I was hooked instantly, and it never left me. And of course, I had favorite characters, and it's kind of like an Ariel situation. Same with Jack Sparrow. Now I'm physically attracted to when I see it, but I was 6. Of course, I wasn't like sexually in love. I just was really drawn to the character, and this is the same with Zorro. Because, I mean, One Piece is as asexual a show as can be, even though, like, the women are drawn in an incredibly sexist way. Don't get me wrong.
Progressively, right?
Yeah,
because,
it gets worse.
Like, the tits get bigger.
Yeah, and the waists get smaller, 100%. Like,
Okay.
they are not... Those are not viable people. They would die. They don't have ribs anymore.
They would break in half.
Yeah, completely. But, but bar that, love, as in romantic love, doesn't play a role in One Piece. It's all about friendship, chosen family, and dreams and goals in life. So I, of course, had favorite characters. I mean, Luffy, of course, is one. Because he's the main character. He carries the show. He's the heart and soul of it. But he is asexuality personified. And then there was Zoro and Sanji. The 2 other, like, because for the longest time there's like 5 main characters till the crew expands. But when I joined the show where the storyline was at, we had a crew of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji. And Zoro and Sanji are the 2 most manly men.
Yeah, fair enough, I get that.
Usopp is the coward that always has to, fight himself in order to even be brave, and Luffy is Luffy. So there is Zoro and Sanji, who both could be incredibly cool and were really strong fighters. They are like Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy were called the Monster Trio because they are like the strongest fighters that the Straw Hats have. They have cool fighting styles. Sanji with his kicks, and like he never uses his hands, has them in his pockets and everything, and he just kicks the shit out of people. Because he's like, I need my hands for cooking. I'm a cook.
Yeah,
These are
chef.
sacred. I'm
exactly.
just... Yeah. And Zoro,
fights with 3 swords.
Yes. But they also both had character traits that I found incredibly annoying. So there was always a balance. So Sanji is fawning over every female that he sees.
I remember
in an
that.
incredibly annoying way. And Zoro always sleeps and gets lost. Which can also be incredibly annoying because it gets tedious. So I always considered both of them my favorite character, depending on where we're at right now, because it was just balanced. Up until the show reaches a point where on an island called Thriller Bark, they only barely manage in a combined effort of, at this point, 10 crew members, or 9 and 1 about to join, to defeat the big bad. And it took a huge toll on everyone. Luffy's unconscious. It's all done and good. We think we're over. Like, we know the formula by now. This is where, like, in the volume 50. So, like, each volume has about 6 to 10 chapters. Just for reference. We're far into the story. We know how the storytelling formula of One Piece works. So we're like, okay, we're done. But we're not done. Because suddenly a completely healthy, even stronger foe appears and threatens the completely worn out and partially unconscious crew. So Zoro offers to sacrifice himself. Sanji does as well. Both of them do. Everyone else from the Straw Hats is unconscious. Only those 2 are still conscious. And Zoro's the first one who goes up to Kuma and is like, look, you're too strong. leave my captain be, leave my crew be, take me.
Mm-hmm.
My aspiration is to become the biggest, like the strongest swordsman in the world. I will become a threat to you guys because Kuma works for the world government. I am already a threat, and I will become a bigger threat. If you take me in now, your superiors won't mind. Take my head, leave them be. And then Sanji comes up and he's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Stupid with your aspirations. Take me instead, man. Basically, same argument. And then Zoro knocks him unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, throws his swords away and goes like, take me. Which is insane because Zoro's whole point is that he's very samurai coded. He very much follows the idea of Bushido, so like the way of the samurai. And early on in volume 6, when he loses to the man that he needs to defeat in order to become the world's greatest swordsman, Dracul Mihawk, he then swears to Luffy that he will never, ever, ever, ever lose a fight again, because he lays there bleeding out, essentially, and then says to Luffy, are you worried now that you chose wrong? Do you think I'm too weak to support you on your way to become the king of the pirates? I will never lose again. By you, I swear, I will never lose again. And then we're at this point, and he offers up his life. And then, of course, the story needs to, add on top of that even. And Kuma then agrees to the deal and says, okay, I'll take you in, I'll leave them be, that's fine. But if you want to take your place, the place of your captain, you're gonna take the place of your captain. And what he then does is he picks up Luffy, the unconscious Luffy, and Kuma has a superpower, a devil fruit power, that allows him to extract all the fatigue and pain and injuries that Luffy had sustained from the prior fight. And they basically become physically like real as a sort of bubble in the real world. And he makes Zoro step into it because he's like, who's also barely hanging on and is barely conscious, and he's like, you want to take the place of your captain, you're gonna do it all the way. And he makes him physically take on the entire harm that Luffy took from the fight before. And Zoro takes it. And then Sanji wakes up, and then we cut away from that, and we just see him step into it, and we just hear the scream, basically, and like see birds fly out of the trees. And then we cut away. We don't know how much time has passed. We just cut away to Sanji waking up, and immediately being like, fuck, where is he? What happened? Did he actually take him? And then goes to look for Zoro, and he sees him standing somewhere nearby from the corner of his eye. So he runs towards him, and we see Sanji approach him. We don't see Zoro. We see Sanji, and he's like surprisingly happy to see him because the two of them have this rivalry going on. They don't really like each other. They're always bickering, always fighting, play fighting. So Sanji's incredibly relieved to see him, which is new. We don't know him that way. And we're like, okay, everything's fine. And then hard cut away, and we see Zoro standing there, bathed in blood. Really, like, One Piece is fairly brutal, or can be fairly brutal, even though it's still aimed at teenagers and young teenagers. But Zoro is torn to pieces, but he stands there upright, standing, like, not barely being able to, basically more out of muscle memory standing up at this point than conscious effort. And Sanji just goes like, what the fuck happened here? And all Zoro says is, nothing happened. Because he didn't do it for thanks. He didn't do it for any other way than he wanted to protect the people. And he knows what it would do to Luffy if Luffy would ever find out that his friend, his first mate, his vice captain, is in this shape because of him, because Luffy couldn't protect him because he was unconscious. So Zoro doesn't say a word, just takes that to his grave with him. It's never revealed to this day. It will never be addressed. It's just what he did. And that moment, that just catapulted him, for me, to my absolute forever favorite character, probably forever favorite fictional character of all time, because that act of selflessness out of pure love for your chosen family and friends, that it's not even funny. This is not funny. I'm just genuinely so touched by it to this day.
That makes sense because, if we're talking about a payoff in terms of, you'd expect this to come back, and where people are like, oh, you did this for me, you did that, and to actually have the balls in terms of character progression and storytelling to basically have this go unrewarded in terms of, or unrecognized by the other characters. That's ballsy because of course, as the audience, but the friends will never know, and they never truly will know in a maybe conscious way what kind of person they've got with them there.
And how deep his love runs for them.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And maybe I think we're scratching on the 2-hour mark, so I'm trying to make mine short. I'm going to go last now, so tough act to follow.
I was going to say, sorry, that was a bit too profound. I just couldn't stop myself.
Right, so I think my most prolific crush on a fictional character, which expanded over... let's go step by step.
Mm-hmm.
It's Buffy. Buffy Summers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, I love that. That's the supernatural vein, basically. I love that.
Basically is. And before I watched the show, and I never watched the show fully, but before that, of course, there was the movie with Christy Swanson as Buffy, and then later we had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
And this is where I developed my crush. Because, I was, when this came out, the show ran for 145 episodes.
Supernatural references it so much, you'll love that.
I can only imagine. It ran from 97 to 2003. So in 97, I was 9 or 8 before I turned 9. So, and she's 16 when the show starts. So, you're old enough to develop crushes and all of that. And, first of all, she was just very pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And she's still, at a very, what would you call it? At a very, very immature age, she has her mind on certain things, and, to take on the responsibility to maybe have to save the world again, because the show takes place after the events of the film. So this is why they moved to Sunnydale. Luckily, there's a Hellmouth there,
Shocker.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
There you go. And I'm not going to expand too much on the friend group, which is great, except for Xander, as we know, now as a society we've grown. Nothing against the actor himself. But, Xander is just not a good person, Jesus Christ. But then you've got other people like Anthony Stewart Head as Giles, and, you've got to love the voice and, his overall, very British stuffiness. And you've got, of course, Alison Hannigan as Willow. Lovely character. You've got David Boreanaz as Angel, the guy who walks around with a constant migraine on his face.
Angel gets referenced a lot in Supernatural.
It makes absolute sense. And it's a journey of growth, actually. And exactly, she always has this feeling of responsibility, which comes with her destiny as being the chosen one, the Slayer and everything. Of course, she basically... rears up against it, but in the end, with the love she feels for her family, her friends, but also transcending that responsibility that comes with the role, which in a way you could decide to basically push away from you. There are organizations in place who try to fight in your stead, probably not as successfully, we don't know that, but she goes through a lot, dying at some point, being brought back, literally fighting fucking Dracula, which is a great episode, because, basically she defeats the guy and then he turns into mist and comes back, and from outside of screen he gets another stake through the heart, and she's like, I watched your films, mate, what are you on about? And he's trying to put himself back together again, and you hear her from the off going like, I'm still here. Wonderful. And kudos to Sarah Michelle Gellar, who does it with such ease, with such with a great amount of humor, but also with a gravitas. And this is something you can attribute to the entire show. The cast is great with what they're doing, because we're talking about a lot of teens or people portraying teens who've got other priorities. And, to say, I sacrifice myself for this. And also to even bring in the show, and let's not talk about the problematic person that is Joss Whedon. at this point, as we found out, especially on the set of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, to have her go through everyday problems. For example, she comes home and finds her mother dead. And she calls...
Everyday problem.
Problem. With dear old mummy, probably not more than once, but there you go. But she finds her dead, and she's calling 911. And she's on the phone with the operator. And she says she's cold. And the operator pauses for a second, because if somebody's cold, you're not going to bring them back. It's very unlikely. She knows she's gone. And to have this, to keep this with the role of the Slayer, this is a wonderful example for, to keep this humanity, this fragility, this capacity of still being hurt, of feeling overwhelmed by all of this, because the death of a loved one, even amidst fucking hellmouths and you name it,
it's different,
it's
because
not
it's
nothing.
Close to you.
And in the second season, for example, when they try to bring back the Master, the vampire from the first film, and she manages to destroy a skeleton that they need to resurrect him, she breaks out crying after that, because, you know, like, this is a lot of responsibility on a 16, 17-year-old girl. Right, and overall speaking, I have to watch the rest of the show. It's all on Disney Plus. I'm going to rewatch it. They continued the show later as a graphic novel, which I hear is fairly good. But I remember this was a very prolific crush for me. Due to, of course, it started out with basically with the looks.
Yeah, of course.
An attractive woman and all of that. Then, you know, like, there were the quirky character traits, and, you know, like, she was fun, but then also, you know, like, growing up, taking on the responsibility. She was also a role model. And then, of course, it didn't help, you know, like, let's put it differently. Sarah Michelle Gellar, in and of it herself, is a very likable person. She's been together with Freddie Prinze Jr. forever.
Yeah.
She was together with him when she started doing Buffy. She was with him in Scooby-Doo. They're both incredibly likable. I think they're still married to this day.
I think so.
Which is incredible, given the times and everything.
Yeah.
And then it didn't help that in 1999 came Cruel Intentions. And by God.
Right.
You turn 10, 11. And this is it's not the best movie ever. But in terms of when you start to have a sort of sexual awakening, and there's your crush playing an overly sexy role, you know? You're just like, yeah. I'm fine with this. I'm going to sit through the rest of this movie with a fairly good soundtrack, with a good cast and everything, but, you know, like, you know why you're here.
I know why I'm watching it. You know why I'm watching it.
I know why I'm here. And they did a terrific spoof in Not Another Teen Movie, because she's his stepsister, and he wants to have sex with her because, you know, like, he's a womanizer, and she sees through him.
Yeah.
And
which makes her so much more appealing.
And if he wins the bet, you know, like, he gets to sleep with her and whatnot, and all of that. And then she has this lesbian kiss scene with, Selma Blair, I believe, and all of that. And my God, I'm 10, you know, like, I'm just...
You're like, I'm just human, leave me alone.
I'm just figuring things out. And I'm watching this film, I'm thinking, okay, yes. And
yes, good, yes.
I was probably not mature enough to watch it, but I'd say it was at the perfect moment in my life to watch it. Because, you know, after that, it also sort of transformed my perception of Buffy, because, you know, like, basically the film came out in 99. The show started in 97, and this was, like, basically on the halfway point there. And, you know, like, people grow up, people transform and everything, and my relationship to that person, because, you know, like, you superimpose the qualities of the characters onto the actor, and so on and so forth. So it all became an amalgamation. And you sort of, I suppose, subconsciously realize people contain multitudes, and they develop, and, you know, and all of that, and it's happening to you in real time. Not exactly at that point in life as they are, but, you know,
but sort of as well.
All of that. And this was me growing up throughout my, I say, puberty.
Yeah.
This was my crush that was also figuring things out in the show,
you could
and all
relate,
of that.
Exactly. In a way, yeah.
And this really sort of carried me. And, you know, like, if you haven't watched the show Buffy, it's still a great show. Go watch it. It's so much fun. It has the gravitas, like, for example,
it aged well, I believe.
Surprisingly, in many ways. It's in the same vein as Supernatural, I agree. I think Supernatural took a lot of inspiration from it.
It
which
did,
is
massively.
No shade for that. it's a great show.
No, they honor it. It's really funny. There's this one ghost hunter comic relief pair. They are incredibly incompetent, and Sam and Dean are just always like, oh my god, the ghost faces, they're just gonna annoy us the entire time. And they love Buffy, and they declared her their icon. They have like mugs and merch, and literally one of them is like super cowardly, and then he just sits there like while they're like trying to deal with the ghost, and he just goes like, okay. What would Buffy do? What would Buffy do? And it's just really charming because you can tell like, and there's a literal angel later in Supernatural that is part of the main cast, and he also gets referred to a lot just as Angel, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really.
So with all of this, I'm realizing I think we took this over 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I did kind of see this coming. Also, to just resolve the fan fiction issue, it was Navy CIS and Supernatural in a crossover. Thank you very much.
It makes perfect sense. But I suppose at this point, it's also a great introductory point to a lot of franchises, I feel. Because, like... you gave a lot of context to the things, like where you got certain character crushes from.
It's called hyperfixations, and I can't shut up about them.
Fair enough. I can relate, but I think...
I feel a neurotypical way about my fandoms, okay?
But I think, guys, we won't keep you that much longer. No. Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for listening to today's episode.
And we'll hear you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.